Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Kettering Fairmont High School. My name is Chris Weaver. I'm the athletic director here at the high school, and it is with great honor and privilege to welcome you to the 20th Annual Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Joining me today from the athletic office is my administrative assistant, who you probably saw out there serving some cake, and her name is Sandra Whaley. She's also a Hall of Fame committee member, as well as assistant athletic director and head wrestling coach Frank Baxter. What a great night last night was, with a very nice recognition of the Hall of Fame inductees at halftime of the basketball game. Certainly capped off with a great victory over Beaver Creek on senior night as well. So it was a busy evening, but a great evening. And we couldn't have asked for a better start to such a wonderful weekend. Today we bestow the highest honor a former Dragon, Falcon, and Firebird can earn. These individuals made tremendous sacrifices in our communities, to our communities and with our communities, and to our athletic programs, and set the standard for our current and future Firebird coaches and athletes. I would like to thank our Hall of Fame Selection Committee, who spends countless hours gathering information on nominees. Each year I look forward to working with our committee as we review, discuss, and select our next Hall of Fame class. This committee takes the responsibility of the selection process very seriously, and their commitment is a big part of what makes the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame so special. Coaches of the past and present will always hold a special place in our hearts. Without their mentorship and guidance, many of us would not be where we are today. We have many who make it a point to come back each year and celebrate this wonderful day, and I want to thank you for your commitment to the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame. At this time, I'd like to ask all past and present coaches with us today to go ahead and please stand and be recognized. Additionally, without the support and financial commitment from the Fairmont Athletic Boosters, this day would not be possible. President this year for the Fairmont Athletic Boosters, Mr. Jim Burlon, has done a tremendous job for us and continues to support this great event. Thank you for your time and commitment to the Firebirds, all of those Fairmont Athletic past and present boosters. Without you, we could not make this such a special event. So on behalf of the Fairmont Athletic Department, we hope you enjoy the ceremony. At this time, I would like to introduce Principal Fairmont High School, Mr. Tyler Alexander.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this great event to recognize some of the top athletes to ever walk the halls of a Kettering high school. The history and success of our student athletes is a huge reason this school is recognized across the state of Ohio. It takes great leadership, hard work, and dedication to run a district that takes pride in educating every student that walks through our doors. This leadership starts at the top, and I would like to recognize these folks this afternoon. Our superintendent, who is unable to be here today, Mr. Scott Inskeep, and our board members, some of which are here today, our president, Mrs. Jennifer Kane, our vice president, Ms. Julie Gilmore, I know Julie is in the back, Ms. Lori Sims Parks, Mr. Jim Ambrose, and Mr. Toby Henderson. Let's give all of those folks a round of applause. New inductees, congratulations on being enshrined into a group of student athletes that have helped mold Fairmont High School into what it is today, and a group that takes pride in being a Firebird, Dragon, or Falcon. Thank you for all you have done for this school district, and it is a true honor for me to be a small part of this ceremony that will recognize all of your accomplishments and hard work. At this time, I would like to recognize a Kettering legend to the stage, Mr. Roger Bowser.
I am Roger Bowser, and I'm a member of the Athletic Hall of Fame Selection Committee. And we'd like to take a moment to pause in our ceremonies to remember all of those Fairmont athletes who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame who have passed away over the years. These ladies and gentlemen are listed in your programs, marked with a double asterisk in the list of all of the Hall of Fame inductees. They are also memorialized at a table in the lobby. One member of the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame passed away during this past year. Vivian Eads Craven, Fairmont Dragon class of 1945 and Hall of Fame inductee in the class of 2012. Vivian passed away December 18, 2017 at the age of 89. Vivian was a multi-sport athlete for the Dragons, excelling in field hockey, basketball, bowling, volleyball, and softball. Although female athletes in those days did not receive athletic letters, she was a member of the Girls Athletic Association, the GAA, for all 4 years of her high school career. And she earned 3,400 GAA points, the most of any of her contemporaries. Jim Widman, who was a champion for her induction into the Hall of Fame, always said that Vivian was the best athlete, boy or girl, in their neighborhood growing up. And she was always the first one chosen for any pickup game, regardless of the sport. After high school, Vivian remained very active in local sports, winning 2 golfing club championships and being a member of bowling's 600 and 300 clubs. Even in her 70s, she was still shooting scores in the low 80s at NCR Country Club. Vivian was a loving wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, and was extremely proud of her membership in the select company of the Hall of Fame, and she made a point of being at every year's induction ceremony. I was told that Vivian's daughter may be with us. If she is, would she kindly stand? She wasn't sure she was going to be able to make it. Vivian Eads Craven. Jim Widman passed away peacefully on July 31st, 2017, at the age of 88. Jim was a member of the Fairmont Dragon class of 1947, graduate of DePauw University. While Jim was not a member of the Hall of Fame, he was a founding member of the Athletic Hall of Fame Selection Committee, and he served faithfully on that committee for 16 years until ill health prevented his further participation. Jim was a fine athlete at both Fairmont and DePauw, and he had a keen eye and feel for athletic ability. His many contributions to the success of our selection committee were innumerable and highly valued. Jim was a veteran in the United States Army, serving for 2 years in the Korean conflict. He worked in the auto repair business for 25 years at Widman's Garage, and then became the first automotives instructor at the Fairmont Vocational School, now the Career Tech Center. He was a volunteer firefighter for over 30 years, a lifelong member of David's Church, and an undisputed expert on the history of all things in our schools and community. He could light up a room with his broad smile and his booming voice, his wonderful sense of humor, and his colorfully fashionable style of dress. He could also bring to life a crowd in the stands by leading his favorite old-time cheers like 2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits a dollar, all for Fairmont, stand up and holler. And the whole crowd would stand and cheer. Jim was a superb teacher, a devoted and loving husband, father, and grandfather, a proud ambassador of all things Kettering and Fairmont, and one of Kettering's finest citizens. Jim's wife, Ruth, and his daughter, Sally Faree from Michigan, are here with us today, and I'd like to ask them to stand and be recognized. In our hearts today, we give a long and loud 2 bits cheer for both Vivian and Jim, along with all of those we have lost from the Hall of Fame over the years. They will be missed by their families and their friends, their communities, and the Fairmont athletic family of which they were such an important part. and we thank you for taking this time to remember and honor them. There's another group of people that we would like to honor, and those are people who have been instrumental in the success of the Athletic Hall of Fame over the years. First of all, our athletic boosters. Jim Burlon is our current president. Is Jim here? I don't see Jim, but Donnie Fortner is here. And Donnie, I'd like you to stand. Donnie was the first president at the time of the inception of the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame and was very instrumental in helping ensure the success of the Athletic Hall of Fame. Donnie, thank you for yours and the boosters' support. The boosters pay for everything for this celebration. We could not do it without them, and we encourage you, if you're not already a member of the Athletic Boosters, to join that group. Life Touch Photography. You've seen Dave Maltz running around with a camera. They've been here since the beginning, taking wonderful formal photos of all of our celebration. Hills and Dales Florist. Diana Roberts is unable to make it for the first time in 20 years, but her Hills and Dales Florist shop provides all of our flowers, and she is a member of our selection committee. Sherholtz Graphics. Charlie Sherholtz has for 20 years donated the beautiful programs, and they've been redesigned. We encourage you to look through the program. It's super well done. Thanks to our Kettering City Schools and the Board of Education for their unwavering support over the years. A special thanks to Laura Hutchins and her Fairmont video crew for the great video memories that they produce every year. And a thank you to our selection committee, many of whom are here in the audience. If you're a member of the selection committee, would you stand and be recognized, please? And we have 4 young men from our National Honor Society and class councils who are serving as your hosts and guides today, handing out programs and doing a wonderful job of all kinds of Gopher jobs, and we thank them for their participation as well. And now, I'd like to turn our program over to our MC, Mr. Rich Bowden.
Jim Seavey, our leader, was not able to be here. He's ill, so I'm going to start by doing his role, and that is to introduce all of the Hall of Fame members from the past who are currently here today. We had a list of RSVPs. I'm not sure everybody came, but I would ask you when I call your name to stand, and if you're able to stay standing until we get all the way done and then clap at that point in time. Marilyn McLarty Norris, Fairmont from 1947. Harry Kiefer, Fairmont from 1952. Bob Pugh, Fairmont from 1954. Bob Zimmerman, Fairmont from 1958. Coach Nancy Benedum, Fairmont, Fairmont East, and Kettering Fairmont from 1961 to 1986. Coach Barb Roush, Fairmont, Fairmont East, 1963 to 1983. Phil Baker, Fairmont West, 1967. Coach Fran Eden, Fairmont West, 1967 to 1978. Pete Luther, Fairmont West, 1970. Nick Becker, Fairmont West, 1970. Tim Ireland, Fairmont West, 1971. Coach Larry McVeigh, Fairmont East and Kettering Fairmont, 1971 to 1992. Pat McDermott, Fairmont West, 1974. Coach Rusty Clifford, Fairmont West, Fairmont East, and Kettering Fairmont, 1973 to 1990. Monica Kiefer Saxton, Fairmont East, 1976. Pat Hoke, representing her son, Brady Hoke, from Fairmont East, 1978. Kim Dodson Wright, Fairmont East, 1978. Brenda Zimmer Gibson, Fairmont East, 1978. Nanette Heeb, Fairmont West, 1979. Coach Wendy Devine, Fairmont West, Kettering Fairmont, 1982 to 1986. Harry Otto, Kettering Fairmont, 1989 to 1999. Coach Rick Robertson, Kettering Fairmont, 1991 to 2008. Andy Arakri, Kettering Fairmont, 1996. Drew Fiden, Kettering Fairmont, 1998. Sarah Fiden, Kettering Fairmont, 2000. And Bill Lauder, Kettering Fairmont, 2001. Let's give them a round of applause. If you think that this Hall of Fame doesn't mean something, just look at those people that are coming back year after year. We're so pleased that you are here for the 20th class to be inducted in the Kettering Fairmont Athletic School Hall of Fame. We are, a year ago, I happened to be reading a sports section and I came across a title in huge letters that said something like this: Kettering Fairmont to induct the best athlete to ever walk its halls. I was indignant. How could anyone dare say that any one person was the best athlete to ever walk our halls? The article went on to say that an athlete who was extremely good, named Lamar Skeeter, was one of the best athletes. Funny how those titles get switched around. I felt better, but it got me thinking. Who was the best athlete ever at Fairmont? Who was the best at tennis? Was it one of the super competitive Bissinger sisters of 1990s? Or was it Marilyn McLarty Norris in 1948, who still plays at 88 years old? Or maybe it was Frank Todd in 1945. How about track and field? Could be you'd pick Clyde Buck Bolander, great name, huh? Probably running in gym shoes, he ran a 10 400-yard dash. Hey, Phil, do you think you could have taken him? I can just visualize the spinning discus throwing of Nick Becker from 1970, Bill Lauder from 2001, and Annette Heeb in 1979. Which one was the best? Hey, do you remember the Fosbury flop the first time you saw it? Well, you can see Betty Goughegan in this program doing a great rendition of that. She still holds the high jump record at Fairmont. Let's talk football. What would you take, a Pat McDermott or Chet Moeller 1972 interception? Andy Arockery getting a sack in 1996? Kyle Rithrow or Dave Fisher from 1963? Maybe Mike Wagner, quarterback at East, throwing a long spiral for a touchdown in 74? Or Pete Luther from 1970 catching a pass over the middle? Maybe it's Bob Pugh or Tim Ireland. Bob Pugh 1954, Tim Ireland in 71, stuffing a run. Who would you take to get that 1 yard you needed? Would you take Robert Buck Bendig in 1940, Nick Becker in 1970, or maybe this year's inductee, Cameron Campeau? Or maybe, yeah, really, maybe you think it is better to have a great lineman like Clifford the Stub Bolander from 1930, or Rob Taylor in 1978, crushing defenders while leading the way. How about gymnastics? Listen to this one. Tom Sexton, 1965, won the state basically by himself. Kelly McCoy, who's another inductee this year, won the state basically by herself. Wow, what if they competed against each other? Wouldn't that be sensational? Softball requires a good pitcher. You might choose Sarah Hinn from 2006 or Leisha Holdenbach from 1985. How about volleyball? You got Jane Neff in 1979, Nanette Heeb in 1979, or Kim Dodson Wright in 1978, all with a powerful spike. Those must have been some good teams that year. Swimming, hard choice from this family, Sarah or Drew Fiden. Who would not love to watch a golf playoff between Robert Kepler from 1927 or Bob Zimmerman from 1958 and Bobby Logan from 1962? And you know, I think I'd take Kiki Eby or Joanne Kurz to anchor my field hockey team. Who would you call the best from the Kiefer family? Lord knows there's a lot of them in the Hall of Fame. There's 3 to be exact. Can't you see the fancy footwork of Chris Rolfe, 2002, making a sharp pass in soccer to a streaking Lamar Skeeter in 2006? Wrestling, David McVeigh, 1981, taking down an opponent would be a good bet. Or would it be Brady Hoke in 1980, forget the year, I think 78, making an escape. Take any of these Toms from baseball. Adams, Bell, Hawk, Worthington, and you'd have a super team to start. I think Tom Bell's brother Terry might have something to say about that, though. Don't look now, but there goes this year's new inductee, Andy Metzler, 1995, finishing at the rim over 2 defenders. Or maybe you prefer Stacy Bruce's soft touch around the basket in 1987. How about the best all-around athlete? Well, you could say, make an argument for Dan Pollock. He had 10 letters in 1993. Ralph Marburger had 11 letters in 1934. Or Brenda Zimmer Gibson, she had 8 letters in 1978. How about a booster? Well, we do for sure have one definitive bestie. That would be Harry Otto, who was voted in as our only booster special to date. So he is the best Hall of Fame booster. What coach would you take to the promised land? Would it be Barb Roush, Wendy Devine, Fran Eden, or Nancy Benedum? Maybe Dave Rayburn or Bob Chapman, Pete Fowler, Rick Robertson, Rusty Clifford, or maybe Larry McVeigh. You know, the fact of the matter is, we cannot just pick the best athlete to ever coach at Fairmont. What we do know is that each of the members of the Athletic Hall of Fame is among the best from their era, and it meets our qualifications. Each one is researched, and their accomplishments are shared with our committee and chosen as one of 4, 5, or 6 new inductees each year. As a committee, we work pretty hard trying to dig through old yearbooks, record books, newspaper articles, searching for the best of the best. However, there's only a small group of us, and there are a large number of athletes to research. The people who know the Fairmont athletes the best are you all, their coaches, their friends, their families, their teammates, and their fans who watch them play. Maybe you're thinking of some athlete you think was the best. You need to nominate that person. There are nomination forms online at the Kettering City Schools website, or there's hard copies where you got your name tags today. Please pick one up as you leave. Know this, once a person is nominated, they stay nominated and are considered by the committee until their induction year after year. To be eligible for the Hall of Fame, you must have been an athlete and graduated from one of the Fairmont schools. Fairmont, Fairmont West, Fairmont East, or Kettering Fairmont. They must have lettered in one sport or one sport for 2 years or 2 or more sports for 1 year. We have a special exception this year. They must have graduated at least 10 years earlier. Specialists, they must be a coach, administrator, or support personnel who served 5 years and must be retired from the service for at least 5 years. We started with 28 members in the class of 1999, and we now have 150 members. There's a good mix of all 4 schools. There's a good mix of females and males. The Hall of Fame class of 2018 will be the 20th inducted. This Hall of Fame class includes 4 athletes, 2 male, 2 female. Along with those before them, they've laid the foundation on which our excellent athletic program is built, and they've set an outstanding example for the future Hall of Famers. With memories of these great athletes bouncing around in our heads, let's proceed with the formal introductions for our formal induction of the Hall of Fame class of 2018. I will tell you that last night, the inductees received a very nice plaque. Today, they will receive a proclamation from the city of Kettering, which looks like this, very nicely done. Number 147 in the Hall of Fame is Betty Goughegan. She's the 3rd member of the 1979 graduating class and will be presented by Chuck Cantonese. Please come forward. We've got to embarrass you. Get to stand right here.
Good afternoon. How you doing? My name is Chuck. I'm going to start off just by telling you a little story. And I'm from the Fairmont class of 78. And the people I'm going to talk about are some of the people, other than my own immediate family, that I've known for the longest time of my life. When I was in high school, I wasn't much. I was just kind of like under the wire kind of guy, nothing going on. Basically had no game with the ladies, or really nothing at all. But During my junior year, I decided to get a life-saving certificate, so I was taking some life-saving classes, and I met a girl there. Turns out she goes to Fairmont West, but I never saw her here. Now, Fairmont was bigger back then, and just on the west side even, so I thought, well, she was a year older, so our paths had never crossed, so I thought, well, this is great. So we had planned a date. A couple of days later, I'm in the Dragon weight room, and trust me, that's about as close as I ever got to athletics in my entire life. And even that was a stretch. But, I was there, trying to do some impressions of somebody athletic. And I see another girl in the weight room, and I think, how lucky could I be, Maybe my game's improving. And so this girl number 2, I didn't talk to her, but I kind of had my eye on her, and I thought, I'm going to be making some plans here. So, but I was just thinking to myself, all of a sudden my game had 2 players, so I was excited. So I went ahead, and the weekend came along, and I was getting ready to show up at girl number 1's house. And so I'm nervously standing on the front porch of girl number 1 and knock on the front door. And to my surprise, girl number 2 from the Dragon weight room opens the front door. So I realized at that time I should probably be playing the lottery. And you guessed it, they were sisters, so there wasn't any way I could wiggle out of that one at all. So I went on the date as planned, and as fate would have it, after 6.5 years of dating, I married girl number 1, and she's sitting in the back row there next to my daughter. There she is with her hands up. You want to stand up? And we are coming up on our 35th wedding anniversary. And of course, girl number 2 was Betty. And aside from a good story, I've known her, like I said, for as long as just about anybody outside of my own personal family. And I've grown to realize the conviction she has about everything she does, both with her family, most importantly with her faith. And you guys that were her coaches over the years, her mentors, her co-teammates, I mean, all those things molded the person that's standing next to me right now. And so especially the coaches, that you retired ladies and gentlemen that coach these young people, don't think your legacy is over with. If you're still involved with them, you just keep going. You'll never know the impact that you had on these people. So just don't ever give up. And an example of that is Betty standing next to me here. And the most important thing about Betty, I think, in all this, now the record books are great. I don't want to discount that at all. But what's really fantastic is she took what she learned, she put it into practice, and she's kind of carrying that torch, carrying that legacy from all those people that cared about the kids that were here, teaching them and training them, coaching them when I was going to school here. So I present to you girl number 2, Betty Jane Goughegan Collins.
Thanks, Chuck. I cannot even begin to express how happy I am for this opportunity. When Mr. Bowser called me about, 3 or 4 months ago, and told me that he was inviting me to be an induction into the Athletic Hall of Fame at Fairmont, I didn't even know there was a Hall of Fame. I had no idea. I mean, I don't know if it's just been that long. But anyways, I was so excited, and I have loved over these last few months just thinking about my experience at Fairmont athletically in the classroom. And it just has been really, really a fun time leading up to this. And, I started out really having a passion for gymnastics. And I mean, literally, I tumbled everywhere I went. My poor dad couldn't even watch the news because I'd be doing cartwheels through the living room. And then I had, when I went to middle school, which Van Buren Junior High at that time, I had a 3-week unit for track and field. And I thought, you know what, I kind of like this too. And so I got to be on the track team as a freshman in high school. Back when we high jumped onto the insides of old car, the foam from the insides of old cars, you know, there wasn't that nice pad when we practiced. But anyways, so I got to Fairmont and Fairmont West, and what was interesting is I don't really look like a gymnast. You know, I'm 5'7", and most of them were like 5'2" or 5'3". I was not the poster gymnast. And so the basketball coach, the women's basketball coach, she begged me to play basketball. And I was really committed to gymnastics in the winter. So she kept asking me. And then she had me for 3 weeks for a basketball unit. She never asked me to play basketball again. I don't have any talent in basketball. I have no talent. But you know what? There were a whole bunch of girls at Fairmont West that really were talented. And, you know, we were talented, but we also had really great coaches. And Mr. Gantz was the gymnastic coach that I coached me, and Mr. Carl, who's here today, was my track and cross-country coach. And they were just amazing at what they did. They were so passionate about their sport and so knowledgeable about their sport that it instilled in us a confidence. I mean, when we went to meets, we were confident in what we were doing, and we expected to win. We wanted to, and we expected to, because they had trained us and taught us, and we just had a confidence that just carried over into our competitions. But you know, I wasn't really all that crazy about school. I mean, I was active all the time. And now all of a sudden, you know, you go to school and you're sitting in the classroom 7 hours a day, and then you go home and you do homework. And I had no aspirations of going to college, none at all. And then my junior year, I got a letter from Indiana University, my first college letter. They were interested in me. And Mr. Carl said, "Chimp, I think you can do it." And by the way, my nickname's Chimp, C-H-I-M-P. And now I'm a Chimp Mall. I've got a granddaughter, so I'm Chimp Mall. So anyways, but anyways, as it was, Mr. Carl said, "I think you can do it." And so Mr. Carl, we would spend the several nights in the summer working out, and he would take me to AAU meets, and I would compete against some of the best athletes, you know, in several states, and I got some exposure. But unfortunately, my senior year in track didn't turn out like I had hoped. And as it was, I had gone undefeated my entire senior season, and then the meet that qualified me for state, I jumped the worst I had jumped all year, and I didn't qualify for the state meet. It's very disappointing. I mean, I even actually felt like it was like devastating to me, because all of a sudden, my opportunities for college had changed. And I still went on to college, and I competed in college and had a successful college career, but it really took some years for me to get past what had happened. And then one day, God just spoke to me, and he said, "You know, Chimp, it's not what you did, it's what I did through you. I gave you the talent to do what you had done, to put you in a successful position. And I put really, really talented, knowledgeable coaches in your life that knew what to do to get the very best out of you." And that changed my life. And I began to think, you know, life is really about people. I had done what I had done because of the people that had been a part of my life. And so I took my very first teaching job in the mountains of eastern Kentucky. And if you know anything about eastern Kentucky, Appalachia, it's a very suppressed, depressed, little opportunity. And I said, what can I do with the talent that God has given me? What can I do with this talent to make a difference in the lives of the people and in the children in eastern Kentucky? And so I would drive a half hour, a couple days a week, out into the county, out into the country, and I would teach those young children gymnastics. And I also was their head girls track coach. And I put into those girls what Mr. Carl had put into me. I ran with them. I had fun with them. I trained them hard. I gave them opportunity. And I can still remember when we loaded up that school bus and we drove 2 hours away. I mean, most of these girls had never left their county, and we drove 2 hours away, and we competed in the sectionals track meet. Nobody went to state, but it was okay. They had done something that they had never done before, and they had something to really be proud of. And you know, life's about people, and God continues to use people in my life. I don't know how many people are here with me today, but I've got a wonderful husband. I've got 4 great sons. I have a daughter-in-law now and soon to be another daughter-in-law, and I have a granddaughter, and I have a whole lot of other family. My sisters and cousins are here. God continues to bless me through the lives of other people. Life is about people. And this weekend has been nothing but a blessing to me. From the time I got the call until last night, the people that rushed to me to shake my hand and welcome me, and just the time at the basketball game and getting to see old friends and coaches, it's been nothing but a blessing to me. And I appreciate it so much, and I'm so thankful for this opportunity. I feel like such a privilege to be a part of the Athletic Hall of Fame at Fairmont West, or Fairmont. Thank you.
Betty Goughegan. Our next inductee is number 148, Kelly McCoy, third member of the 1981 graduating class, and will be presented by Uncle Bob McCoy.
Thank you, Rich. I'm Bob McCoy. I spent my entire career in Kettering. I had the best job in the world. I got to be the principal of 3 junior highs in Kettering. Loved that job. So I would like to begin by saying I'd like to congratulate all the 2018 Athletic Hall of Fame inductees. You are now archived into the annals of the Fairmont Athletic Department. I would also like to thank the Athletic Hall of Fame Selection Committee for looking beyond the confines of the Hall of Fame selection process to find other worthy candidates for the Hall of Fame. What a special day this is to be on this stage at Fairmont High School, the finest high school in the state of Ohio. 40-some years ago, my brother Ted and sister-in-law Bobby come to me and says, "You got to help us, Bob. Kelly's hanging from the rafters. She's going up and down the stairs on her hands. Can you do something for us?" So yes, I was right out of college, and I was working at the Y, and I got her in the Y program. And so I'm going to move forward about 10 or 12 years, and I'm the assistant principal at Barnes Junior High School. At that time, the finest junior high school in the state of Ohio. So I want you to know that the city of Kettering schools and Kelly have a lot in common. The Kettering schools have played an important part in the role and development of Kelly. While an 8th grader at Barnes Junior High, Ted and Bobby came to me and says, "We need to get Kelly out of school every day at noon. What can you do?" I says, "Well, I had a good counselor, Maggie Richards, and a great principal." And so I went to the board and asked him if we could work out a plan. And Roger McCormick, the assistant superintendent, says, "Bob, put together a 4-year plan sheet, and we'll take a look at it." So we put together a 4-year plan sheet for academics. First of all, we gave up study hall. We gave up lunch period. We gave up physical education. We gave her a P for passing in phys ed every year. And we put her in summer school every year. So Kelly could get out of school every day at noon and go to her Twigs practice, which lasted probably 5, 6, 7 hours each and every day. So Personally, I'd like to thank the Kettering Schools and especially Assistant Superintendent Dr. Roger McCormick for giving us the green light on this great project. Kelly competed for 5 years as an elite gymnast in national and international competition while traveling across the continental United States and many, many foreign countries. In 1978, Kelly won the state and junior national gymnastics championship in Eugene, Oregon. These accomplishments did bring a tremendous amount of fame and recognition to the city of Kettering, the Kettering schools, and especially to the Fairmont West Dragon High School. We have a relationship now between Kelly and the Kettering schools, both helping one another and both benefiting from this unique relationship. In the fall of 1979, and at the height of her career, Kelly broke her ankle, was placed in a cast, went through a period of healing and then therapy. Due to her injuries, the United States Gymnastics Association waived Kelly through all the preliminary qualifying trials for the Olympics at Colorado Springs. Finally, during the final trials, Kelly wasn't 100% and wasn't able to be chosen for the Olympic team. And I know it's a bitter pill to swallow, but here's the rest of the story according to Paul Harvey. President Carter decided to boycott the 1980 Summer Olympics. At this time, Kelly had already accepted a scholarship from the University of Florida. So Kelly decided to do something that she always wanted to do and had never been able to do, to give back to the Kettering schools and pay back a debt for all the accommodations given to her over the past years. Kelly now is becoming a 100% student at Fairmont High School, something she was never able to do. She became a member of the 1980-81 gymnastics team, which at that time was a very good team and was soon to become a very great team. So Kelly was realizing a life dream, to be part of her high school and the Fairmont West gymnastics team. As a full-time student, Kelly attended football and basketball games for a change. She got to participate in student athletics, activities, went to dances, and thoroughly enjoyed her high school year. Kelly graduated 17th in her class of 424 students. Certainly didn't get in my genes because I graduated 79th out of 333. So she graduated 17th out of 424 students with a 3.81 GPA. And the rest of history as you have looked in your official program. Thus, Kelly was able to give back to the Kettering schools and at the same time realize her high school dream. Kelly attended the University of Florida where she competed in gymnastics for 4 years. Her team won the Southeastern Conference crown all 4 years. Kelly was the Southeastern Conference vaulting champ her senior year and also was the captain of her team. And before I introduce her, I'd like for all the McCoys and the Jones to stand up. So I'm now honored to present Kelly McCoy Jones, the newest member of the Fairmont High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Please bear with me. I don't take pride in public speaking, and I am extraordinarily nervous and very excited. Fairmont High School Hall of Fame Committee, thank you for this esteemed honor. I'm truly humbled to have been selected and proud to be included in this prestigious group of Hall of Fame recipients. I thank God for giving me the raw talent to excel in gymnastics. And I thank him for placing just the right individuals in my life who helped me throughout my journey. My accomplishments in gymnastics could never have been possible if not for numerous special people who guided, challenged, pushed, inspired, and cheered me on. I would like to take some time to recognize and thank many of them today. First, my wonderful parents. Ted and Barbara McCoy. Truthfully, today, they should be getting inducted into the Parents Hall of Fame. Thank you for all your undying love and support. Thank you for driving me to and from the gym 5, sometimes 6 times a week, for keeping dinners warm in the oven when I had practice late, for having ice baths and heating pads ready for my frequent achy muscles and sore joints. Thank you for encouraging me to stay the course and not quit when I was frustrated, burned out, and when training seemed much too hard to handle. Thanks for sneaking me off to the Dairy Queen at times, too, which was not in my diet plan. My gymnastics life was a family affair, as you might imagine. I'm grateful to my brother, Tim, and my sister, Elise, for all their love and support. I'm sure they were dragged against their will to most of my lengthy meets. We did get to go a lot of cool places, though. I'd like to thank my Uncle Bob and my classmate, Jim Sharp, for writing a compelling letter of recommendation. I also can't thank my Uncle Bob enough for orchestrating that special academic plan for me in the 8th grade, the plan approved by the Board of Education that condensed my day so that I could leave at noon and head to the gym. That was, without a doubt, a turning point in my training. I would like to thank my club coach, Tom Jones, who coached me for approximately 8 years. I could talk all day about Tom and all of his contributions and influences on my gymnastics life and my personal life. We achieved much together. Thank you to my high school gymnastics coach, Linda Burton. It was her first year at Fairmont, my senior and only year doing gymnastics. And I remember her as a calm, very positive, and always smiling person. She did a great job coaching us to that state championship. I'd like to thank my Fairmont West teammates, Kim Boyd, Mary Brownfield, Becky Davis, Kathy Kirby, just to name a few, for their hard work and dedication and for helping make 1981 a momentous season. A huge thanks to my friends and extended family, aunts, uncles, and cousins. Many of which are here today, and for all the love and support you've always given me. Speaking of family, I'd like to recognize my immediate family and thank them for traveling from North Carolina, New York City, and Virginia. My trophy husband, Andy. My son, Andrew, and his wife, Madeline. My son, Hamilton, and my youngest son, Timmy. This part of my family is obviously not here during the 70s and 80s, but I'm happy to have them here with me this weekend so they can learn more about this important time in my life. It's hard to believe it's been 37 years since I was here competing for Fairmont West. Recently, I've taken time to stroll down memory lane and dig into boxes of memorabilia to find articles about me, my one and only season competing for my high school. I remember those weeks and months after not making that 1980 Olympic team and how devastating it was and how really burned out I was. And as my Uncle Bob alluded to, I kind of had that whole senior year prior to joining the University of Florida's gymnastics team. And I guess it just hit me, hey, I can compete for my high school. And as Uncle Bob said, it really was kind of a dream come true. I really secretly wished I was a cheerleader and was on the softball team and could have done all other sports, but that was not in my plan. I wasn't looking to add to my trophy case. I really wanted to compete and represent my high school and thank Fairmont West and the Kettering school system for all that they had done for me for many years. I remember having so much fun. You know, the pressure was much less, and we just had a great time. And as the captain of that team, just a real special memory. I can remember, like it was yesterday, how thrilling it was to present Mr. Stuckey, our principal at the time, that state championship trophy during a big school assembly. Again, I would like to thank the Hall of Fame committee and the athletic boosters for this special honor. I'll cherish this weekend forever. Thank you for all you have done to make it so memorable. And in closing, I'm very proud to have been a Dragon And now I will always pull for the Firebirds. Thank you.
Number 148 Hall of Fame member inductee, Kelly McCoy. Number 149 is Andy Metzler, third member of the 1995 graduating class, and he will be presented by Dr. Paul McKee.
Good afternoon, Hall of Fame committee members, today's inductees, families, friends, coaches, and Mr. Bowser. The opportunity to be here today with Andy is a true blessing. I look forward to having the opportunity to introduce him today because he's not only my teammate, but he's my best friend. Andy and I met when we were in the 7th grade, and where he was in the 7th grade and I was in the 8th grade, and at Van Buren we had open gym, and Bobby Morgan and I and Mike Armstrong, we were decent players, and you know, you were in 7th grade and you're going to be 8th grade, and you didn't really know the 6th graders coming up, but they were walking on the court for the first time, and you're picking teams, and Andy was talented at that time, but didn't have a lot of skill set, but we're like, darn, it's kind of hard to guard him. And then as we got to be 8th and 9th graders, and then sophomore in high school, and Andy's a freshman and playing pretty well at Van Buren, we realized he's going to be really, really talented. Never did we dream that he would end up being as good a basketball player as he became. We were very fortunate to win a lot of basketball games. Brian Lethley and I have had a lot of time to talk the last few weeks about my opportunity to introduce Andy today, and Brian said, "What are you going to say?" And I said, "You know, B, I don't know where to start. He didn't like practice, but it's because he was so good he didn't have to try hard. The rest of us were diving on floors and screening out and rebounding and doing all the stuff Casey asked us to do because he could just score. And as long as we got on the ball, we were going to win. And you and I both knew that. And we knew that winning meant a lot to both of us. And so we could list his accolades of scoring, but I think the things that were the most fun was the opportunity to compete. We would go to school in the day, and Coach Casey would ask us, you know, what open gym were you going to go to that night? Could you win all night long on that court? And Brian and Andy and I would get maybe a sophomore or Bobby Morgan or Steve Harm to go with us, and we'd go to Oakwood, and we'd go to Centerville, and we'd go to Chaminade, and we'd just win. But we won because of Andy. Andy could score and could make you look better than we were, and we were fortunate enough to know that and to recognize his talents. In the program, you'll look at the leading scorer in the history of Fairmont High School baseball per game. You'll recognize that he scored 47 points in a single game. But what you don't know and realize is that we needed every single one of those points to win. Those weren't points that he was out there to score for himself. He was scoring for us, his teammates. And I know that because he's been a very good teammate to me for life. I've lost my mom and dad to cancer. I was very blessed to make it into medical school, but not without a fight. And at no time did my friend ever tell me that I should quit or give up, that I shouldn't go after my dreams. And it's because of a friend like him that I've been able to achieve a lot of success in my life. Today we get to hash out our fun times on the golf course, going over trials and tribulations of life. Those opportunities on the golf course were built and cultivated by our opportunity to compete and play on the hardwood. And just like the hardwood of a basketball court, his friendship will never bend or break. It's with great pleasure and honor today that I recommend my teammate, Andy Metzler, for the induction to the Kettering Hall of Fame.
Well, I too do not like public speaking, so we will keep this rather brief, but there are some people that I do want to thank. First of all, I would like to thank the Hall of Fame committee, and I would especially like to thank Roger Bowser for the very thorough communication throughout this entire process. I'd also like to thank Paul for making the trip up here from Louisville to be here this weekend. So when we get done, your first beer's on me. And then Dr. McKee, the rest of the beers are on you. It would be naive or selfish to believe that any individual success in a team sport happens in a vacuum. So with that, I would like to acknowledge the 6 other men that were in my class: Ryan Reed, Brian Leffley, Tony Runzo, John Kingery, Keith Alberts, and Brian Gillespie. We were a class of 7 strong, and each one of those guys made individual sacrifices for the benefit of our team. With contributions from the class above, thanks, Paul, and from a few in the class below, we were able to put together one of the more successful multi-year runs in Fairmont basketball history, winning 37 games over our junior year and senior seasons, including a 20-5 record in district championship our senior year in 1995. We spent a lot of hours together in the off-season, traveling to and from spring and summer leagues and to open gyms all around the area. I do remember the times when a player or two from the University of Dayton would come to our open gyms at Fairmont. It was always humbling to play against those guys as they reminded us that we all had a lot of room for improvement. During those days, I would have never thought that in just a few years, I would be fortunate enough to join them at UD. I have no doubt that all the time we spent together away from traditional organized activities is what allowed us to bond, to create a chemistry that served us well once our official Fairmont season began. So to all the guys I was fortunate enough to call a teammate, I want to say thank you. I would also like to thank my coaches while I was at Fairmont: Tim Casey, Kyle Ramey, Doug Weichert, Gerald Saunders. I know Coach Casey could not be here today as his Upper Arlington team just finished their season last night and they're preparing for the state tournament. But I did want to publicly acknowledge that perhaps the 6 a.m. weightlifting sessions, the preseason two-a-days, and the occasional 3-hour practices did ultimately pay off. And it's easier to admit that when he's not here, so I don't have to listen to say I told you so. Coach Casey was not always the easiest coach to play for, as he demanded a level of commitment and dedication that most high school kids were not accustomed to. But in making that commitment and sacrifice, we all became better players, better teammates, and ultimately were better prepared for life after high school. To this day, when watching a basketball game, I find myself arguing with the TV using the words and philosophies Coach Casey taught us. So even though he could not be here this afternoon, I wanted to give a sincere thank you to Coach Casey. And last, but certainly not least, I want to thank my family. I have been beyond blessed to have the greatest support system a person could ask for. I have 2 loving parents that have become my best friends. I have 2 loving step-parents that were asked to alter their lives in order to accommodate my demanding high school schedule, and they did so mostly without complaint. Wendy, I'm looking at you. And I have a younger sister, Jessica, that I'm sure watched more high school basketball than she cared to. I don't believe I ever really appreciated the amount of sacrifice that our families make in order for us to pursue our athletic dreams. Beyond practices and games, summer leagues, summer camps, they're asked to put their lives on hold to help us pursue a passion, and for that I will be forever grateful. I was fortunate to play with a great group of guys, and in my opinion, to be coached by one of the best high school coaches around. But none of that was as impactful as the time and love that my father spent helping me grow and improve as a player. We share a passion and appreciation for basketball, even though to this day he will argue the game was better with peach baskets and short shorts. And while I will admit, yes, every player travels these days, it's probably time to move on. The time we would spend after a game discussing what went right and how things could have been done better are truly some of my fondest memories. So without rambling any longer, I just want to end by saying thank you to my mother, Debbie, my father, Mark, and to AJ and to Wendy. Thank you for making this day possible, because without your love, support, and sacrifice, it would have never happened. Thank you.
Number 149, Andy Metzler. And number 150, and our final inductee today is Cameron Campeau, second member of the 2006 class, and he will be presented by Kevin Roberts.
I'd like to first start off and congratulate the other inductees. I'm very honored Cameron's getting inducted with such a high quality caliber inductees. Betty, Kelly, and Andy, from your accolades just on the program, they speak for themselves. And Andy, I was very little at the time, but watching you play at UD was awesome. Anyways, Cameron moved to Kettering, my third grade, or our third grade, I should say. And Cameron was instantly the fastest, strongest kid on the block. Not really much has changed since then. But he was always a gifted athlete. Growing up, 8th grade wrestling, Cameron put in the work ethic. And if you talk to any of his teammates or coaches, practice he gave 110%. He was always dedicated. Wii football, he was nicknamed T-Bone because he was a bruiser even back then. But he was really, really dedicated to the sport and a gifted athlete. But what I don't think a lot of people realize is that he worked for everything he actually achieved, whether it be football or wrestling or track. There'd be numerous times where Cameron would call me up in teenage years to hang out. It'd be summertime. I'm expecting, hey, we're gonna maybe play some video games, maybe watch some TV. Who knows? We maybe got a Steven Seagal movie. And I'd go over there, and Cameron would be in the garage lifting weights. And I'd be like, what? Are we hanging out, or what are we doing? And Cameron just like, well, I figured we'd work out for a while, and then we could do something else. I'm like, I'm in jeans and a polo, bud. Like, I don't know what you're really expecting me to do. And as much fun as it is taking off 200 pounds of weight off at every lift you get done to do my set, it's like, I'm doing double time on the workout, bud. I'll spot you, I guess, if you need to get a lift in. But I say that kind of in jest, but his stats on the one game at Springfield South, the 63 carries, 413 yards of rushing on the ground, 6.5 yards a carry. Cameron was a very team player and oriented on that regards. Whatever his coaches asked of him, he was going to do. Leading up to that game, he knew Coach Blevins kind of giving him a heads up. Hey, we're going to try to keep their quarterback off the field as much as we can. We're going to keep the ball in your hands. So, you're going to be pretty exhausted, just as a heads up. And Cameron really never batted an eye. He didn't really, the stats, scream of kind of an individual player in some regards, because they are kind of freakish. And actually, his yards in that game, 413, ranks 32nd all time in Ohio football history. But Cameron was just going to do whatever his coaches asked of him. And it's a testament to him. Again, he's so strong. He's been strong his entire life. But a good friend of mine, a good friend to all his teammates, everyone in the 2006 class that I've had the pleasure of reaching out just to give him the heads up that he's getting inducted. We're nothing short of just, it's due for you, bud. We're so happy for you. He's been a brother to me, since we were young. And I'll just turn it over to him at that point. But again, thank you so much for everyone coming out. I know it means a lot for Cameron, especially a lot of his friends and family that are out here. Without further ado, Cameron Campeau.
All right, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to wing it because I didn't write anything down. So just bear with me. Where to begin is, for me is, everything I've done here, it was great, but I couldn't have done it without the push, the drive. And my mother is one of the big supporters, and she was in athletics when she was in high school, and she wanted me to pursue everything I could do when I went through school, and I did. And my mother was a very huge support, drive, and I can't thank her enough. And my stepdad and my dad, they were all supportive in everything I'd done here. But I'm going to tell you a quick few stories, and I'm going to get off stage because I feel goofy. But anyways, The story that Kevin was telling you about the 63 carries, we usually, before games, Fairmont will exchange game field into the opposing team to, so we can see what's going on or whatever. I didn't know Springfield South had a quarterback that was probably one of the top quarterbacks at this time that we were going against, Brandon Glass. I think that was his name. Correct, Rock? Anyway, but I did not know that he was, what we were going against was him mainly. Our job was, my job, and come to find out, was to keep him off the field, which obviously it kind of worked. But Coach Blevins at the time, he comes to me, he says, Cameron, you are going to be pretty wore out after this game. And I didn't think anything of it because I didn't know where we were going, who Brandon Glass was at the time. Didn't really pay attention to stats or anything. And I said, okay, well, whatever you want to do, Coach, I'm here. So we get to the game time. I'm sitting there thinking, still got that in the back of my head. What is he talking? What's going on? And then as soon as the game was over, I sat down, and he said, "You tired?" I said, "Yeah. I'm pretty wore out, Coach. Thanks." But the other way I could ever figure out what was going on was my name kept on being announced, and it's just like, okay, something's going. I'm catching on now. We're going to throw the ball, Coach. But besides the point, I've never, I can't thank the coaches enough for everything, especially my wrestling career here at Fairmont. Coach Frank Baxter is a legend in his own ways here and outside. Great guy. But my quote from Frank Baxter when we beat Alter my junior year was, he says, Cameron, always be the hammer, not the nail. So ever since that quote, and I keep that quote in the back of my head, and anything I'm doing, I'm going to be the hammer, not the nail. But to everybody, my family, my wife, my daughter, my parents, coaches, thank you for coming out, supportive. I can't thank you all enough, but thank you.
Cameron Campeau. Congratulations again to our newest inductees to the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame, Betty Goughegan, Kelly McCoy, Andy Metzler, and Cameron Campeau. We are drawing near the end of our ceremonies, but I want to remind everyone that there will be picture opportunities here on stage after the pinning ceremony, and that there's still food in the lobby. Please eat it. Don't forget, pick up a nomination form and share with us one of your favorite athletes from the past. Please feel welcome to stay as long as you like to enjoy the company and all the memories. One of our great Hall of Fame traditions is the pinning ceremony with which we close our induction ceremony each year. To orchestrate the pinning ceremony, I'd like to call on Hall of Fame committee member Rusty Clifford.
All right. Congratulations to all of our Hall of Fame inductees. Think about this, last night, and you don't know this unless you've been to these ceremonies before, but last night you guys got a plaque, right? You got to keep the plaque. We've always taken a plaque away from them after you've given it to them, we give it back to you today. So you've got your plaque, it's great. You've got your certificate, that's even better. But you don't have your pin. So right now I need all of our current Hall of Fame members, if you would please come up and join me on stage for our pinning ceremony. And we will start with Betty Goughegan. Betty? Kelly McCoy, come on down. Andy Metzler. And Cameron Campeau.